Well, I can't remember the third one, so Cheryl, back to you, and don't call on me again.
Okay, well, since you're clapping, I'll come to you.
Well, I think I'm from Steve Reuter from New Mexico, and we have gone through a lot of these budgetary requirement cuts, and one of the things that I have done personally with my work group is changing the attitude to allow greater flexibility in telecommuting and allowing my staff to go out in the field more. And it was really kind of tough getting used to the idea of, they've got a computer and a phone at their home, just like they do in their office just down the hall from me. And really, when I'm in my office, I can't tell if they're in their office or at home because they call me on the phone or they write me emails. And it was just having that confidence in my staff to get them the flexibility they need to be able to handle their family issues.
Okay. Liz?
Along those same lines, North Carolina has actually home-based the hazardous waste inspectors. So it takes telecommuting to a new level, really, which is that we save on office space and rent in the regional offices across the state. The inspectors literally work out of their homes. That's where their files are, their computers, their phones, and they can spend less time driving to sites for inspections. It helps with the flexible schedule. It helps them deal with family issues, and I think that as a whole, they are far more productive than they would be if they had to come into an office every day.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Chuck Schwer, and I work for the state of Vermont in the Leaking Underground Storage Tank Cleanup Program and State Fund Program. And I have been an advocate for telecommuting for, I think, 3 or 4 years, and we have a very resistant administration to it. So I wonder if any states could share any of their secrets. Like, how did you overcome that fear that all state employees are just going to go home and fool around at home, watch TV, and never do any work? Because that's what I have in our current administration. Just doesn't trust that telecommuting can work, and I do see it as a potential savings, and I appreciate what North Carolina just said.
That's someone in the back there.
Chuck, in Louisiana we allow telecommuting. It has to be done in accordance with a plan, a written plan. That plan is placed into the Tempo program, and the employee has to meet the Tempo goals while they're doing their telecommuting. It is completely monitored. So if you have to do 3 inspections, those 3 inspections have to be logged into the database, and you have to, your manager has to sign off on that plan for you to be able to do it. It's still well tracked that they're working at the house.
California, we have some experience with telecommuting. We have a number of regional offices, so it's not centralized. And we have some great successes, and we have some areas where it didn't work out quite so well. And I think some of the speakers earlier mentioned that if you're methodical about it, and it's clear it's part of the program, for example, inspectors are always out in the field, those kinds of things can work out well. And they're short-term goals. But when you have longer-term goals and you roll out telecommuting in a structured way, you can have problems with a handful of employees. And what ends up happening is you'll end up having a buzz. If you had a program that's very long-term, like a cleanup program, where you don't have weekly, monthly metrics that you can measure somebody by, you'll have maybe 9 or 8 out of 10 staff will be as productive, if not more productive, with a heavy telecommute. We experience that in LA, where we have a lot of people who really would rather telecommute full-time. But the program isn't really set up for that. There needs to be a lot of collaborative, a lot of teamwork. And when we have it, there'll be a handful of people who really will produce, and they'll be resistant. They won't come in for meetings since their telecommute day. So you really need to have a program. You need to have expectations laid out, or you will have a handful of people who will abuse it, and they will make your life hell. In other words, your 8 out of 10 employees are great. It's better for them, better for you. But those, like when you're a manager, it's always, the 1 out of 10. And so you want to try to cut that off at the pass. the handful of people who will do it. So you have the expectations clearly set out. It's a privilege. The whole roll them around so that when you do encounter people who aren't, equipped to work at home, you can adequately deal with it without having adverse actions, you're picking on me kind of stuff. So if you have that program in place, you can have it work for everybody and work well. But I would make sure that you have those kinds of things in place before you open up floodgates, or have it be on a case-by-case basis. But we had an experience where the floodgates were open at one of our regional offices, and we're still trying to get it back to where we want it. And so we didn't have everything set up. We didn't lay out all of the expectations. We didn't have memos in everyone's files for this. And so we're dealing with some of those problems later on. So the work in front that you'll do before telecommuting will greatly pay off in the long run.
In Georgia, we have what we call mobile workers, and I'm here. And they're based out of their homes. They have to come into the office one day a week. And so what we make them do is they have electronic calendars, and so they'll put their inspections on their calendar, and they have to come in one day a week. We have them to call in to their supervisors every afternoon. We give them cell phones, they have laptops. They have been extremely productive. We've had an increase in the number of inspections that we've conducted. They're very happy. We're very happy, and we think it works very well.
Okay, now I want to ask, I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Well, and I think the last two, Ray and Renee may have answered part of this, but the question that arose to me on the home-based or teleworking environment, I can see where that has the potential to work very well for experienced, well-trained staff. But what about in staff development and younger staff? So much of the complexity of what we do, we build that training with the on-the-job interaction between inspectors and between staff. How are you able to maintain that in that more home-based or remote environment?
We've had all levels of staff, people from associates up into our higher level environmental specialist 3s. They have access to all of the information that they have at work. They're in constant communication with their supervisors. If they need some assistance, they'll contact their supervisors. Then when they come into the office at one day a week, they sit down and the supervisor they debrief their supervisors about their inspections, and it has worked very well for us. We've really not had any problems. They are required to have all of their inspections done, so if you're out for the previous week, when you come back into the office, you have to have all of your work done. And so so far it's done pretty good. I have one unit that's completely mobile. The other unit, the staff come into the office, and like I said, it's been extremely productive. And they've been quite happy, and it's worked well.
Cheryl, as a point of emphasis, this is Steve Roeder again from New Mexico. For this really to be an effective approach, you have to have frontline supervisors that are frontline supervisors. You have to have managers that manage. You can't have people in there that are placeholders. If you've got the manager that's in there and he's interacting with his staff, this will work. And with the younger people, to address the gentleman's concern in the back, I found that the younger generation, these kids today, they are so good with the technology that it's, they get the training and the interaction with me. I can mentor them electronically, and if I need to talk to them, I call them in, send them an email, I said, get here now, and God help them if they don't do it. It's just, the kids are great with it.
We make it clear that our alternative work schedules are a privilege, not a right. So the employee actually has to approve themselves. They can't be on a training plan or some kind of a probation. So, like most states, we can't really offer extravagant wages. But this is one of the tools that we use as a reward for good performance, and it works really well, and it keeps them straight and narrow, and it's worked out great for us, actually. But it's done under a plan, as was said before.
I'm Jeff Steers, and with Virginia DEQ, and we're fortunate in Virginia that we, from the